Hi everybody, welcome again to our Historic Preservation Month series. Today we're coming to you inside our newest property here at Historic Preservation in 2025, which is the Ned Distiller House, or the Distiller House. It's part of the greater Buckland Historic District in Buckland neighborhood, up the hill kind of from the main part, the business district of Buckland as it would have been in Mr. Distiller's time period. This is again mostly residential, and it's built up in mainly the teens and 1820s. We believe from the tax records and the property records, this house was likely built about 1819, 1820. 1820, the amount in property tax Mr. Distiller was paying goes up, and that same year he also goes into debt that he did pay off. That would match up with someone who was building a pretty large project or undertaking a pretty massive project at that time frame. Now, one of the interesting things about this is Mr. Distiller, Ned or Edward Distiller, was one of the few free men of color in Prince William County in the 18-teens and 1820s. Consequently, we unfortunately don't know very much. That is an era where we've lost a lot of our records. In the 1863 clerk office fire in Brentsville, as well as being African-American, free man of color means there really were not a whole lot of concern to preserving those records for a very long time. So what we do know about him, from his last name, he likely was involved in the distillery business here in Buckland, was one of the big businesses in town. He may have been, in all likelihood, one of the master distillers or the more skilled workmen at the plant, because he did have quite a substantial household. In 1820, when he went into that debt and made a bond of his property, he had quite a large amount of livestock, 400 pounds of bacon, a number of tools, household equipment, and things like that. In addition to, by 1821, this house. So, pretty successful, pretty well off. We know he was married, had a daughter. We don't know either his wife or his daughter's names yet. And we do know by 1830, one of them was blind. Going from the census records that we have, we don't know who in the family, but one of those three people. We also really don't know, again, much about him as a person, other than he was a free man of color. He was a distiller by trade. And in 1830, the youngest that he could have been, he would have been born around the time of the Revolution. But it could have been upwards of 20 or 30 years before that, owing to the very wide range that the census bracketed people at that time frame. Over the age of 55 and under the age of 100. But he probably wasn't 100 in 1830. Now, as for how long they lived here, until at least 1846, Ned Distiller is the taxpayer here. He is the individual paying the property taxes for this lot, Lot 13 in Buckland, and the house on it, along with its appendages. After 1846, we don't really know. Again, there were not really death records kept reliably at that time. And those that do don't really survive from that time frame. If he'd lived another decade or so, in all likelihood, that would have been recorded, but not at that time frame. By the 1850s, it is bundled in with the house next to it that you may see as well from the highway, the Ash or the Gill House. Mr. Gill was a tradesman in Buckland as well, a blacksmith and other things at different times. And it went through a succession of owners. In the 1980s, it underwent a fairly major restoration. The fireplace, the paint, woodwork you can see around me were all done in the 1980s to restore the original 18-teens house. But unfortunately, the house has sat empty for a number of years. And one of the quickest ways for damage to occur or decay to occur is for a building to be empty. So unfortunately, it will require some pretty substantial work before it can be open to the public again as part of the Buckland Historic Center. So that is a future goal down the road. Right now, the tree clearing, making sure the building's currently safe and stable, and a historic resource study that will hopefully tell us more about the distillers and other folks that lived here. And then we will move on from there in the future. So thanks for tuning in. Hope we've learned a little bit about the Distiller House and Buckland, and see you again sometime soon.